Thank you. This morning is a special assembly in which we are going to remember the victims of 9/11, but also understand the commitment to service that the Congress and that the President of the United States has set as all people on this Sunday to follow, not only remembrance of the victims of 9/11, but to give back to your community. Many of you, with our seniors starting off, you were only in the second grade when this happened on September 11th, 2001. So you were very young at that time. And so what we want to do this morning is just bring you through some of the events of that day so that you get a sense of what was going on here at not only Grafton High School, but also throughout the country and throughout the world. As you know, we've emphasized here at the school at the beginning of the year about being respectful toward others, toward yourself, and respect for our building and also for the community. We've talked about core values and our beliefs, and it's especially important today that we focus on two expectations, civic and social. The social piece, practicing responsible and appropriate social behavior, and recognizing and respecting diversity. When 9/11 happened, many people started to look towards a certain group of people and blame them. And the idea of people understanding what these people are all about and respecting people of different religious backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, etc. And civic expectation, understanding and demonstrating the duties that come with being a good school citizen and being a good citizen of Grafton. So the first part of our program, and we have many students that are going to come up front here, is to read to you different events that happened that day. Then we'll have a proclamation that was made by the Congress and the President of the United States. And then third, we will talk about how we at Grafton High School can remember the events of 9/11 and also how can we give back to the community. And that's through the IUO campaign that we started a couple of days ago. And then we'll have a moment of silence and then the national anthem. And as always, we talk about respect, and have students that are going to come up here. This is a solemn occasion, but it's also an occasion to give back. And so I'd ask that people are respectful when students come up and speak, to listen of what happened that day, because many people within Massachusetts were affected by the events of 9/11. So we'll start off with the students, and then we'll go through the rest of the program.
7:59 a.m. American Airlines Flight 11 departs from Logan International Airport, bound for Los Angeles, California. 5 hijackers are aboard.
8:14 a.m. United Airlines Flight 175 departs from Boston Logan Airport, also bound for Los Angeles. 5 hijackers are aboard.
8:42 a.m. United Airlines Flight 93 takes off from Newark International Airport, bound for San Francisco International Airport. 4 hijackers are aboard.
8:44 a.m. Flight attendant Amy Sweeney aboard Flight 11 reports by telephone to Michael Woodward at the American Airlines Flight Services office in Dallas. Something is wrong. We are in rapid descent. We are all over the place. A minute later, Woodward asks to describe what she sees out the window. She responds, "I see water. I see buildings. I see buildings." After a short pause, she reports, "We are flying low. We are flying very, very low. We are flying way too low." Seconds later, she says, "Oh my God, we are way too low." The call ends with a burst of very loud, sustained static.
8:46 a.m. 2 F-15 fighter jets are ordered to scramble from Otis Air National Guard Base in Massachusetts, intended to intercept Flight 11.
8:46:26 a.m. Flight 11 crashes at roughly 466 miles per hour, 790 kilometers per hour, or 219 meters per second, or 425 knots, into the north face of the North Tower UTC of the World Trade Center between floors 93 and 99.
8:48:08 a.m. The first television report of an incident at the World Trade Center is broadcast locally in New York by WNYW less than 2 minutes after the plane crashed into the North Tower.
President George W. Bush is at M.A.E. Booker Elementary School in Sarasota, Florida, as part of a scheduled visit to remote education when Presidential Advisor Karl Rove, who is with Bush, informs him that a small twin-engine airplane has crashed into the World Trade Center. Before entering the classroom, the President speaks to National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice, who is at the White House. She first tells him it was a twin-engine aircraft, and then a commercial aircraft that had struck the World Trade Center. That's all we know right now, Mr. President.
9:02 a.m., Flight 175 crashes at about 590 miles per hour into the South Tower of the World Trade Center, between floors 77 and 85. By this time, several media organizations, including 3 major broadcast networks who have interrupted their morning shows, are covering the first plane crash. Millions see the impact live. Parts of the plane leave the building from its east and north side, falling to the ground 6 blocks away.
9:04 a.m. The FAA's Boston Air Traffic Control Center stops all departures from airports in its jurisdiction.
9:05. After brief introductions to the Booker Elementary students, President Bush is about to begin reading the Pet Goat with Students and Chief of Staff Andrew Card interrupts to whisper to the President, "A second plane hit the second tower. America is under attack."
9:23. Flight 93 receives warning message text from United Airlines flight dispatcher. Beware any cockpit intrusion. 2 aircraft hit World Trade Center.
9:28. Hijackers storm the cockpit on Flight 93 and take over the flight.
9:29 a.m. President Bush makes his first public statements about the attacks in front of an audience of about 200 teachers and students in an elementary school. He states that he will be going back to Washington, that we've had a national tragedy, and leads a moment of silence. No one in the President's traveling party has any information during this time that other aircrafts were hijacked from us.
9:37:46 a.m. Flight 77 crashes into the western side of the Pentagon and starts a violent fire. 9:43 a.m. The White House and the Capitol are evacuated and closed. 9:45 a.m. The United States airspace is shut down. No civilian aircraft are allowed to take off, and all aircraft in flight are ordered to land at the nearest airport as soon as possible. All international flights headed for the U.S. are redirected to Canada and Mexico.
On 9:57 a.m., passenger revolt begins on Flight 93. 9:59:04 a.m., the South Tower of the World Trade Center begins to collapse. 56 minutes and 2 seconds after the impact of Flight 175, its destruction is viewed and heard by a vast television and radio audience. As the roar of the collapse goes silent, tremendous gray white clouds of pulverized concrete and gypsum rush through the streets. Most observers think a new explosion or impact has produced smoke and debris that now covers the South Tower. But once the wind clears and the smoke, it becomes clear that the building is no longer there.
10:03, 11 seconds a.m. United Airlines Flight 93 is crashed by its hijackers and passengers due to fighting in the cockpit 80 miles, 129 kilometers southeast of Pittsburgh in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. The 9/11 Commission believed that Flight 93's target was either the U.S. Capitol building or the White House in Washington, D.C.
10:28 and 25 seconds a.m. The North Tower of the World Trade Center begins to collapse. The second collapse is also viewed live on television and heard on radio. The North Tower collapses 1 hour, 41 minutes, and 45 seconds after the impact of Flight 11.